Nadolig llawen I chi gyd. This is Vaughan Schofield. Welcome to Wrexham Property TV's first ever programme. So let's have a look at what we've got coming up in this month's Wrexham Property TV first ever episode. Well, 2021 will last long in the memory. It's been quite a year, particularly for the property industry. I want to outline to you the key statistics relating to the Wrexham property market for the past 12 months. I thought it was an opportune time to do a property review for Wrexham for 2021. It's been a remarkable year. Nobody called on the fact that the property market would behave in the way it did. In fact, contrary is true. They thought the property market would tighten and there would be some plateauing of prices, or there'll be slight property dips. In Wrexham, property prices grew by an average of 15%, the 5-year average being 18%. So here's a breakdown of each type of property and how it performed in the county of Wrexham last year. Apartments or flats accounted for 5% of the total sales mix, and it flatlined in terms of price increase. Terrace property accounted for 26% of the sales mix and enjoyed an 8.6% increase in property prices. Going on to semi-detached properties, that accounted for 34% of the sales mix and enjoyed a 16.8% price increase. And detached properties accounted for 35% of the sales mix in the county of Wrexham, and they enjoyed a whopping 18.2% of an increase in property prices. Last and certainly not least is bungalows, and bungalows performed better than any other type of property, enjoying a whopping 23.7% price increase in the county of Wrexham over the course of 2021. The average house price, depending on the type of property for Wrexham and Wales as a whole, is as follows for 2021. So the typical detached house in Wrexham has an average selling price of £266,727, whereas in Wales it is £287,886. Semi-detached houses. In Wrexham, the average paid is £154,000, whereas in Wales, it stands at £172,000. And on to terrace properties. In Wrexham, the average paid was £122,000, whereas in Wales, the average is £130,000. Going on to apartments and flats, the average recorded in Wrexham was 101,792. In Wales, it's 124,000. But that's sales. What about the rental market in 2021 in Wrexham? Well, I think the biggest influencing factor for the rental market in Wrexham this year has been the diminishing number of rental properties on the open market. That's private residential properties. I would estimate there's been as much as certainly a minimum of a 40% decrease in the number of rental properties available. Now, this has had a huge, dramatic effect, and the implications of this change has had some quite distinct effects on the market, with rental prices having increased by over 20% within the last 12 months. Now, why has this increase occurred? Well, I would put it down to simple economics. Demand for rental property has remained high and is projected to become even greater. The supply has significantly diminished, and the equation therefore is high demand plus low supply equals much higher rental prices. That's the summary. It would be interesting to see whether you agree or not.
The broker looks after your mortgage from start to finish, all the way through inquiry. We hold your hand from the first point of thinking about getting a house right the way through to the issue of the offer and you collecting your keys. We can help you every step of the way. The broker has access to, for instance, 90 plus lenders, and each lender has their own essential storybook. Each lender will lend a different amount. So you could find yourself being able to buy a property of your dreams as opposed to a first step property, because each lender lends a different amount. Each lender will use your variable income in a different way. Their interest rates do follow the economy. However, it also is very much impacted by service levels. So you will find that if you want a mortgage to go through very quickly, a broker may select one particular lender over another because their service levels are so much better. So if you're unsure or nervous and you don't like approaching the estate agents or you don't like approaching the solicitors, a broker will get involved and help you with that all the way through. So mortgage rates do change very readily. Sometimes they can change daily. During the COVID period, they were going on and off sale very readily. However, as of today, the interest rates that are top of the pop, so to speak, if you're looking at purchase, up to 75% loan to value, both the Coventry and the Monmouthshire Building Society are both very strong at rates of around about 1.31 to 1.39. If you were looking for the 90% range, so if you're a first time buyer, you're looking at the HSBC or the Halifax as of today, both at 1.94. They do have different fee structures. So again, the broker would go in there to tell you which was the best one for your personal circumstances. If you're a small term investor, so for first buy to let property, Platform is currently riding at the very top at rates at 1.71 fixed for 2 years. If you are a bigger investor for property and you're a portfolio landlord, lenders like BM Solutions have some very competitive rates at 2.19 currently as of today's date. That may be different tomorrow, it may be different next week, but they are currently riding at the best at this precise second. So if you're looking to have a chat about your personal circumstances, because everybody is different and it's coming up to the end of the year, so a good time to spring clean all of your finances, you can always give us a call and we can have a chat and see if we can save you a little bit of money or give you the added surety that you may be looking for in 2022.
Well, that's given you a real insight into what mortgages are available and the best deals available currently from Carys Bailey. Not only is it mortgages that have been in the news, but also conveyancing. The legal process between the seller and the buyer has also very much been in the news. And in terms of getting a local perspective, I spoke to a few local solicitors to get their opinions.
Well, our solicitors practice saw a huge increase in conveyancing for the last 12 months. It probably increased 3 or 4-fold, I'd say. Chains were hampered slightly, so times were delayed on completions. There were certain factors influencing that. The local authority was searches. Obviously, surveyors were struggling to get into properties, and there was some resistance with, obviously, the impact of COVID on sellers letting people into their house and some sort of cautious vendors. But on the whole, everything went as well as it could.
It's meant not taking many days off. It's meant not taking holidays for a lot of people. It's meant trying to recruit. Recruitment's difficult because everybody's in the same boat. We've also had delays caused by organisations like banks and the councils getting their searches back late and the banks getting their mortgage offers in late.
Certain sectors had many employees working from home, so their access to computer systems to check search records and valuations, etc. were impacted. Certainly with surveys, the pinch point was very much at the start, where we were waiting for mortgage offers to come through. Searches obviously delayed at that stage, and we were experiencing then at the back end of the conveyancing process issues with removals.
It's never really settled down since then. Obviously we had the stamp duty holiday, which got extended. We were all looking forward to that ending, to be honest, so we could take a breather. It hasn't eased off at all. It's still really, really busy, and it's with email correspondence coming in all the time, it can be quite a challenge to actually keep on top of it all at the speed people want you to keep on top of it.
From our side, we're now seeing the land registry catch up from all registrations, so they're coming back now with maybe requisitions, and they're questioning completions that happened 6-9 months ago. So we're very busy with new instructions. I think we are back to what we would call normal.
I think what I would suggest to people is if you can, where possible, maintain a healthy dialogue with either the seller or the buyer, as the case may be, and it usually makes things a lot smoother if everybody can sort of speak to each other and get on.
Well, the hottest subject on the street of Wrexham over the last few weeks has undoubtedly been city status or town status. I've been lucky enough to get the agreement of both Councillor Phil Wynne and Councillor Mark Jones to come and meet with me to discuss their opposing views on this very hot subject.
Firstly, Vaughan, can I just say a big thank you for allowing me this opportunity to promote the argument for a city bid for Wrexham. Obviously, I've been thinking about how we can actually improve the inward investment into Wrexham. We're fortunate with our leader of the council, Mark Pritchard, that he's been working tirelessly over the last few years through the North Wales Ambition Board and the Mersey Alliance and other networks to see what investment we can get into Wrexham. We've got 2 new Hollywood stars that have taken over the running and ownership of Wrexham Football Club. And we've got an international spotlight on Wrexham. Who would have imagined that a few years ago? You just couldn't make that up. So
that part, certainly, we've hit the jackpot as a town.
We have indeed. So I believe we need to take advantage of that as well. The city bid is not an end game. We just don't. That is not the prize we're after. What we're after is inward investment and other good things to happen for Wrexham. We've got to future-proof the fortunes of our town going forward as well. And for Wrexham to have its fair share of the Welsh Government's fortunes, is we've got to be at that top table where currently Cardiff, Newport and Swansea are. I think we need that official footing recognition for Wrexham as the capital of North Wales, and the city bid is just one way of possibly anchoring that. There are large companies that want to invest in Wrexham, particularly on the back of the Wrexham Gateway project to do with the racecourse development. Conversations I've heard are that these are international companies and they don't naturally invest in towns. We need to rebrand Wrexham if we're going to get that inward investment that creates jobs and wealth for Wrexham.
From reading the local newspaper, I know you're very strongly on the side of retaining the town status. Can you possibly tell us why?
I think if you're making the case for change, which city status is, you've got to explain why that change needs to happen and how it will benefit the town. And the council has paid tens of thousands of pounds of public money for a consultant who failed to find any material benefits of city status. And I think at that stage you've got to say, well, why are we going for city status? And I can't see any reason, if there's no economic benefits, that it's anything more than a vanity project. There's lots of work going on in the town. There's work going on in the Wrexham Gateway to transform the racecourse area and the train station area. The market here is up for regeneration. We've got Chapter Court going on. All these things are happening as a town. What can we not do as a town that we could do as a city? And nobody can answer that because there is no answer. The danger with the notion of a city is that a city can become urban sprawl, it can lose its identity, it can lose its sense of community.
So from the towns and the cities that have previously put in a bid for a city of culture, do they need to be cities? Because the title does say city of...
They have deliberately changed the criteria so that in cases such as Wrexham, you're a town, you can bid. 4 of the 8 bids on the shortlist for City of Culture are not cities.
Well, if it becomes a city, the prices raise the city prices, and it just attracts more people. I like it as we are.
I go for city status because I think it'd be a good thing for the town. Whether we get it or not, we don't know, do we?
Oh, I'd want Wrexham to submit a city status application as opposed to remaining a town.
What does city status really mean? I'm struggling with it a little bit. There's not been enough information given.
A town, really.
Town? And why is that?
It's always been a town. I grew up in Wrexham, and Wrexham Town football. Wouldn't say on the same Wrexham City, would it?
I don't think it's my role really in this film to give you a personal view, but certainly if on hearing the two interviews you've made your mind up, I guess the way democracy works best is then for you to lobby your local councillor and make sure that they understand what your view is. Thank you very much for watching the first programme of Wrexham Property TV. All that is left for me to do is to wish you and your families a very happy Christmas. Nadolig llaw i chi gyd.